meant to be, meant to be, meant to be. Yes, we are meant to be, meant to be, meant to be. 'Cause I have seen us together. 'Cause I have seen us
I don't know if I can say I've seen the future, but I've definitely seen the past. Like many of my fellow Americans, I have watched too many movies during this seemingly unending stretch of glorified house arrest. But the other night, I caught a real doozy. It was a film from 1933, and it shows the left's ageless fondness for fascism. Most of my subscribers have freed themselves from cable, and I salute you. Now, many of these films I have found in the years have been available like on Turner Classic Movies. Now, even back in the good old days when we were all free citizens of the United States, do you remember that place? TCM was my father's favorite default channel. Yes, I know the leftist TCM, Mavin Ben Mankiewicz, co-founded the proudly stupid The Young Turks. But he and the other hosts keep their politics out of it. Better still, TCM shows uncut movies others do not dare, Blazing Saddles included. Now, even though I'm an advocate for cutting the cable line, I have the highest available package for internet to get the highest upload and download speeds for my cable provider. Doing so gives me free phone line, free basic cable, which I use to keep an eye on the Fox News, CNNs, and MSDNCs, all the different channels. Even though all that's available through my high speed, there are times that I just kick on the old TV to tune into these events. So in doing so, yes, I have came across, I'm not advocating TCM by any means, all right? So don't get that twisted. So back to the point. The other night, after a long day of doing Patriot Hour research and doing a few great episodes for you guys, I'm laying down, and by now I've seen most of the movies that would play on TCM over the years, or just in general, you understand what I'm saying. But one caught me last week, or mid last week, that I have never even heard of. So on a whim, I watched it. Good move, by the way. Now, it was called Gabriel Over the White House. This 1933 liberal wet dream proved to be the most unapologetic celebration of fascism ever to be put on film. Tired or not, I watched it wide-eyed. The movie opens up with the inauguration of Judd Hammond, a laissez-faire back slapper. Hammond sees the White House as a way to enrich himself and reward his cronies. Depression be damned. Now the audience assumes Hammond is a Republican. Out joyriding one day, Hammond crashes his car and lapses into a coma. While still in comatose, the angel Gabrielle visits Hammond and turns him into a committed and caring progressive. Is there any other kind? I couldn't think. Upon awakening, Hammond convenes his cabinet of corrupt self-servers and rejects their plea that the party must come first. Instead, Hammond insists that their first priority be the American people. He refuses to use the U.S. Army against a marching mass of unemployed, and then fires the Secretary of State when he objects. I suggest you read the Constitution of the United States you'll find the president has some power. Hammond warns his cabinet members. Some power? Fully indifferent to the Constitution, Hammond grabs all the power that he can possibly be grabbed. When the cabinet objects to his usurpation of power, Hammond fires the cabinet. When Congress threatens to impeach Hammond, he declares martial law and dispenses with Congress. When accused of being a dictator, Hammond argues that his dictatorship is based on some of the imagined Jeffersonian principle of democracy, namely the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Now, with total power, Hammond enacts a national banking law, stops foreclosures, provides direct aid to some 55 million farmers, circumvents private industry, and launches his own army of construction. A young aide, Hartley Beekman, and his female counterpart, Pendy Molly, serve as something of a progressive chorus. The way he thinks is so simple and honest that it sounds a little crazy, says the Beekman character about Hammond. He's doing the things you wanted, Molly answers, and if he's mad, it's a divine madness. Look at the chaos and the catastrophe sane men have brought about. The divine madness includes the creation of the federal police force, a subset of the army, with young Beekman at its head. When the nation's chief racketeer refuses to go back to his unnamed home country, Hammond warns him that the government is about to muscle in on his racket and federalize the sale of alcohol. The racketeer fights back, and Beekman employs a legion of tanks, goes Waco style against the racketeers. When captured, the racketeers are all hauled before a three-man court-martial headed by Beekman, promptly declared guilty and executed en masse by a firing squad. Watching this story unfold, I kept thinking that Hammond or Beekman or Molly or someone would have a moment of reckoning and say, gosh, maybe we've gone a little too far. But that never happened. After coercing the world's nations into disarmament by none too subtly threatening their leaders with aerial mass destruction, President Hammond collapses. As he lies on his deathbed, his face morphs into that of Abraham Lincoln, while strands of the battle hymn of the Republic raft in the background. Molly, played by real-life communist Karen Morley, declares he's proved himself one of the greatest men who ever lived. William Randolph Hearst, then a Franklin Roosevelt fan, financed the movie and helped shape its message. Louis B. Mayer, a Republican, did not read the script prior to the production and hated our final product. He released it nonetheless, and it did well at the box office back in the day. FDR, who took office soon after the movie was released, reportedly loved the film. Indeed, he seems to have modeled several of his programs on Hammond's. Before the events of the last few months has reminded us of the left's reflexive fondness for fascism, the few critics reviewing the movie thought it was a warning about Donald Trump. Of course they did. In self-awareness has never been a liberal strong suit, but projection was, is, and always will be. Again, I am Michael. This is the Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you. And where we go one, we go all.